Welcome back to my podcast, Open Conversation. I'm your host, Bella. Um, this episode, gonna get into some NBA analysis, talk a lot, speak on uh, the NBA All Star Weekend, give my own viewpoints of the NBA All Star Weekend, the game, and just the season moving forward. And yeah, that's going to be the primary uh, basis of this episode today. So get right into it. NBA All Star Weekend recap. NBA All Star Weekend definitely one of the just best weekends to be. One of the more entertaining weekends to be a part of, just culturally, um, with obviously the different NBA All Stars that will be there um, to perform in the game. The players who come and you know participate in the festivities, the in terms of like the 3 point, the skills challenge, the dunk contest, and celebrity game, and you know it's always a great weekend. To whether you're a part of it as a viewer or whatever the case may be. Um, NBA All Star is always a great weekend. So from this All Star weekend, I saw the obviously the dunk contest with Mac McClung being the winner of the contest. He had some really dope dunks. Um, I didn't see um, the competition in full, but I did see the highlights of it. Um, you know, Shout out to Mac McClung. He won that. He's I believe a G leaguer, and so I think that really uh, helped obviously put some more notoriety on his game. Um, he's been a phenom, from my understanding, with his dunks since high school. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man. Uh, Shout out to him. Then Dame Lillard won the 3 point contest. Um, they shout out to him. He had the Weber State. He had his college jersey on, and so he got a little. He went a little throwback on him. So shout out, like I said, shout out to Dame Lillard. I believe it was Team Jazz won the skills challenge with Clarkson and those guys. Uh, and yeah, so that was the Saturday night festivities and stuff like that. Let me get right into obviously part of All Star Weekend is obviously the All Star game, and I enjoyed the All Star game. It's for me watching the top guys in the league currently come out and pretty much uh, perform. You know what I'm saying? That's how often do you get to see that? You know what I'm saying? Having your favorite players in the league come out and perform and do their thing. And you know, that to me is always you know exciting to see, regardless. You know what I'm saying? I definitely saw some complaints in regard to the competitiveness and the seriousness of how today they were playing. But to me, it's an all-star game. So I mean, what are you expecting? It's not one like it's the end of the season. They still have a second half of the season to go, including playoffs for a lot of those guys who are all-stars. So um, they can't be exerting their too much energy into the game, or you know get too competitive, because potentially somebody get hurt, and so that could be detrimental to their team moving forward. So for me, I look at it as um, for the sake of the game, it's an all-star game. Guys gonna be trying to make highlight plays, do stuff that they generally wouldn't do in normal games. So you know, it's to me, I think the All Star game was exciting. You know what I'm saying? To see those guys um, just make highlight plays and tricks and stuff like that. I thought it was dope. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't think that for me, I'm coming to see an extremely competitive game. Maybe towards the end of the game, what I'm saying, when it's getting tighter, the time is going down. I know with the current state of the game, they play by like a point system. Like they go into a certain score. It's not even like a time like the actual game. But I think towards the end usually is where it gets a bit competitive. And usually in games of past, any All Star games of past, usually the fourth quarter where guys kind of get a start putting a little more effort, into the game. And so yeah, I appreciated it. So next topic, yeah. So obviously had NBA trade deadline was pretty intense. A lot of activity going on in terms of um, teams making deals. Um, uh, teams making moves, making moves. Um, Obviously, to me, the biggest move splash that occurred was the KD. Starting with the KD going to the Suns. That was obviously not necessarily like a planned deal, something that people saw really coming. Just kind of happened overnight, really. And surprisingly, being the fact that you know the Brooklyn Nets were having a good season, you know, a relatively good season, had a winning record. Seemed like they had a role going on. Just had some health issues, but they had something going on. Kyrie was balling out. Um, KD was just out a couple games, and it looked like he was just on his way to come back. He's not fully back, but he's on his way to come back. So, but obviously the trade happened. KD's on to Phoenix, um, and that's a major splash of a deal. Especially, I think to me, probably the biggest deal in trade deadline history in terms of caliber of players who got traded during the deadline. Then got obviously his teammate Kyrie Irving. He went and got traded to Dallas Mavericks, uh, and so that was again somewhat abrupt. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, Kyrie was balling out on a really good run, and then he kind of just he requested the trade. Obviously, due to, from my understanding, contractual. It was a contractual thing. He's looking for a major deal, contract deal, and Brooklyn wasn't necessarily too interested in giving him like a extended contract deal. So I think Kyrie just kind of wanted to take things, take matters in his hands, and try to get out as soon as possible if that was the case. Um, and from what was reported, he preferred to go to the LA Lakers, but obviously ended up with the Dallas Mavericks. So you know, pretty big splash in my opinion. I do think you know Dallas got better. Obviously, with you get a caliber player like a Kyrie Irving, Phoenix obviously gets better. Um, Nets, a lot of people want to just kind of cast negative judgment towards the Nets and the dysfunction and et cetera, et cetera. To me, I think as an organization, they did their best job, best they can do. In terms of as an organization, bringing in the caliber of players that they were able to bring in, um, like with kind of guys like Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. I mean, these is top caliber, top talented players. So gotta give them credit for that. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out. They had some injuries, some chemistry issues, and some off court. Nothing really specifically that had to do with on the court basketball issues. I think like myself and I know a lot of people had high expectations for them, but unfortunately they didn't meet those expectations. But I think they got some good they got some draft picks, so hopefully they can use those picks wisely. They got some players. Mikal Bridges is a nice player from the Phoenix Suns. He, before the All-Star break, had his career high with 45 points. So, he's a nice player. Like I said, they got Dorian Finney-Smith, who's a good role player from Dallas. They got Spencer Dinwiddie, who was once with them a couple years ago, averaged around 20 points. So, he played well with Dallas as well with Luka, and so he's coming back. I'm sure going to be averaging you know around that 20-point per game kind of mark. Cam Thomas, who's a young player on the Dallas, I said Dallas, on Brooklyn, he was having a pretty good run before the All Star break. He had a couple games of 40 plus points. So it's not all hope is lost with the Nets. Obviously, you lose two guys of the caliber of a Kevin Durant and a Kyrie. That's huge. I mean, I don't think they necessarily gotta evenly match for what they got. You know what I'm saying? Given what they lost, but they got some pieces. They got something to work with moving forward. Um, you got, obviously Russ not being moved from the Lakers. He had the contract buyout. He's supposed to be signing with the LA Clippers. So that should be a nice little pickup for LA Clippers. I think, just my personal opinion, I think Russ got a lot of flack. That was a little undeserving in terms of his play while he was at the Lakers. Obviously, things they didn't necessarily meet high expectations that they had assumed. But in my opinion, I think Russ played well. He put up some good numbers for the time that he was playing. Uh, uh, his first year, he averaged 18, 8 and 8, starting, given injuries with LeBron and AD, himself included, chemistry not necessarily able to get the chemistry. Then he accepted his role this season with coming off the bench, averaging about 15, 8 and 8, still pretty, really good coming off your bench. You know what I'm saying? Like that's starter stats. You know what I'm saying? But he was doing that coming off the bench. So, um, you know, I think he got some unfair criticism. Again, obviously things they didn't meet the expectations, but Russ never cheats you with effort. Never, always plays hard. You know, and so I think Russ is going to be a good addition for the Clippers moving forward on their team. I know the Clippers they moved John Wall and Reggie Jackson, which was kind of surprised me because I thought they was playing well. Uh, while they was there, John Wall was playing well. Reggie, I don't think they had an established understanding of who was starting though. But to me, I thought that was kind of surprising me that they moved those two guys. I believe Reggie went to sign with Charlotte. John Wall's still looking for a contract. Um, and yeah, so that's some of the you know some of the moves that happened um, during the trade deadline and the buyout and all that. Yeah, so next time. Looking forward to the second half of the 22-23 NBA season. Um, Definitely gonna, obviously the season's about 23, 25 games left in the season. You know, um, the competitiveness is gonna, guys is gonna raise their game level up. Um, Obviously, you have teams, playing for, seedings and uh, positions in the playoffs. Have pretty much your establishment of who's pretty much out. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, you know, potentially making the playoffs. I think that you got a couple teams who are pretty much, tanking for Victor Wembanyama, so they're playing for that. So, but um, you still have your couple teams who are playing for seeding. It's a uh, it's pretty in terms of the Western Conference. Um, it's pretty competitive in terms of the teams and the seeding. Currently, right now, you have between the sixth and the 13th seeding, you have the 4 games behind. So you have the Dallas Mavericks at 31 and 29. They're in the sixth spot. Then you got the LA Lakers at 27 and 32. And, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, 4 games behind that. It's going to be interesting. I believe that seedings could definitely interchange between that, looking for moving forward. Like I said, you got the Mavericks at 31-21 at the 6th seed. You got the Pelicans at 30 and 29, seven seed. You got Minnesota Timberwolves at 31-30 at the 8th seed. You got the Warriors at 29-29 at the 9th seed. You got the Thunder 28-29 at the 10th seed. The Jazz 29-31, 11th seed. Trailblazers 28-30 at the 12th seed, and like I said, the Lakers at 27-32 at the 13th seed. So, these, like I said, it's only 4 games in between these teams, and so the seedings of that, a couple wins, a couple losses can just completely change, how these seedings look. And then, between, you know, the second seed, which is the Grizzlies currently at 35-22, and the New Orleans Pelicans, who are at 30-29. There's only a 5-game difference. All right, so as I said, you got the Grizzlies at 35-22. You got the Kings at 32-25. You got the LA Clippers at 33-28. You got the Phoenix Suns at 32-28 at the 5th seed. You got the Dallas Mavericks at 31-29 at the 6th seed. You got the Pelicans at 30-29 at the 7th seed. So, like I said, seedings definitely can be changing between that 2 spot and the 6th spot, or the 7th spot, between those teams. Very, very couple games can sway some things. At the top, you got the Denver Nuggets at 41-18. So they're in some sense like the outlier of that conference, or whatever, at the top. And you got the Eastern Conference. Pretty much, it's not as competitive. It's very top heavy, but like the top 4 seeds are pretty much set in terms of records. To me, I think you got Celtics, Bucks at 2, 76ers at 3 at 38-19, Cavaliers 38-23 at the 4th seed. I do believe, 5 down is where it gets interesting. You know what I mean? Right now, currently got the Brooklyn Nets at 34-24. Obviously, with the Kyrie and the KD, them departure, and I'm expecting them to slide down. No offense, no disrespect. I do expect them to slide down a bit. And so, I'm talking about between the 5th seed and the 10th seed, which is the Toronto Raptors. You got at the 6th seed, you got 33-27 New York Knicks. Miami Heat at 32-27. And the 7th seed, you got the Atlanta Hawks at 29-30 at the 8th seed. You got the Washington Wizards at 28-30 at the 9th seed. And you got the Toronto Raptors at 28-31 at the 10th seed. And so you only have a 6-game difference between that 10th seed Toronto Raptor and 5th seed Brooklyn Nets. I think I'm expecting some shuffling to go between these teams in terms of seeding. So that's really something, to me, in my opinion, to look out for. Like I said, I think the top 4 seeds are pretty much set. I don't think there's going to be any change between those top 4 teams. But those the 5 to 10 is going to be pretty interesting. Definitely looking forward to guys, certain players getting healthy. You know what I mean? The Kevin Durant, him getting healthy. Devin Booker getting healthy. Who else is out there? LeBron's hurt. Giannis. all these guys getting healthy so that we can have a nice postseason to look forward to. We don't want, or at least I don't want no marquee players or anything like that getting injured. So um, looking forward to these guys getting healthy. Um, Steph Curry as well. Uh, I'm looking forward to vets. Vets obviously raising their game, being that it's going to be the later part of the season. Um, so definitely just looking, uh, the competitiveness, the competitive, the competitiveness is going to definitely rise um, during this second half of this, obviously the second half of the season to move forward. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to. You know what I mean, and seeing that these guys go at it and competing at a high level um, is what I'm definitely looking forward to. And so yeah, next topic. Are the Suns the favorites to win the NBA Finals? Um, I think if healthy, they are the best team on paper. Um, you got CP3 at the one. Obviously, we know the greatness of CP3. You got Devin Booker, probably to me top five scoring scores in the league currently. Just my humble opinion. I think he's a top five scorer right now in the NBA. I also got Kevin Durant. You know, greatness of Kevin and KD. You know, Bailey, the best player in the league. Um, and then you got DeAndre Ayton, pretty much a all-star caliber kind of guy. And I don't know if they're gonna go with T.J. Warren as the other guy that they want in their five, or Bismack Biyombo. What the case may be. I think they got some solid bench guys, solid role players, and Terrence Ross, Damian Lee, Cameron Payne, Bismack Biyombo. Um, those some Landry Shamet. That's Landry Shamet. But pretty solid guys on your bench, in my opinion. But again, uh, this is a just put together rosters, and it's mid-season. No training camp, no first half of the season, no real reps um, for the team. As a group to build that chemistry. But like I said, they have in terms of the talent, they got it. They definitely got it. To me, the real debate or question for the Suns would be health and then team chemistry. You know what I'm saying? If they can stay healthy, show that they can have a level of chemistry on the floor, I think they got a good chance. I think they're just my personal opinion. They're likely to be the favorite, so to speak. Uh, I definitely think Boston Celtics will definitely have a strong something to say about that. I think that'd be a really nice matchup with uh, Phoenix Suns and Boston in the finals. That'd be a nice matchup. Um, but yeah, I think Boston would be a major challenge. Obviously, Milwaukee. Um, you got the Grizzlies is still there in the West. You know what I mean? Denver, none of these guys. So, uh, it's going to be interesting to see, how things play out. Um, I'm really, excited to see how this Phoenix Suns team is able to play once they get their guys healthy and they can play. Um, so hopefully they can get some good reps in before playoffs, you know, together amongst the their team. So I'm excited to see how things work out with them. Next topic. Can the Kyrie and Luca duo work? Um, Obviously, we saw some few games that they played before the All Star break. I think they had some monster games. Both one game that I vividly remember, they had both players scored 30 plus. So that's what you're expecting from the caliber guys of like a Kyrie and Luca. You're expecting that. So you know, I definitely feel like it can work, and it's shown it's working. They just got to continue building the chemistry amongst each other. Obviously there was a game where it was the last couple seconds, and they kind of had some conflict in terms of who was going to get the ball for the last play. They kind of was playing hot potato with the ball, but that's a chemistry thing when they're able to build some build some chemistry, build some camaraderie amongst each other, build trust. I think they'll have it figured out. Um, to me, either or can get the ball. You know what I mean? And then I think it was great that they, even though the things didn't quite work out the way they had wanted it, in terms of obviously getting a shot off the win, but to me it showed like they both believed that they either or between the two of them could be they could take that game ending shot. So that's a good sign to me. They you know that's great players. The question obviously, well, not even obviously, but the question to me, as for me would just be the fact of how you know they're both ball dominant players between Kyrie and Luca. So the question is going to be for me, who is gonna of the two is gonna play the more ball dominant role. To me personally, I think Luca should be more of the ball dominant playmaker between the two. Um, Kyrie's also obviously great. They're both great, but for me, I think Luca's has more of that like he's very similar in play of like a LeBron. He can facilitate and pass and play make. And I think he'll be better off setting up Kyrie than Kyrie would be setting up Luca. And I think Kyrie, although yes, he can play, make, and pass and stuff, I think he has more of that score mentality, and he has more of like a natural scoring mentality. And so um, I'm really, I think you know, I think that's kind of how they're gonna move with Luca being more of the ball dominant of the two, and Kyrie playing off the ball and being more of the scorer and playing on the ball at times. And so I think that's how they're gonna probably move. I think that'd be the best way for them to move. Um, and they're gonna be a hell of a dynamic duo and outing for guys night in night out in the playoffs. I think for me, they the thing with the Dallas, right now, they lack depth on the team. Obviously they're top heavy with Kyrie and Luca, but in terms of depth, I don't think they're too heavy. When you're talking about coming off the bench, um, they got Christian Wood, who's a good player. He can probably be their likely be their third option. In terms of scoring, uh, Tim Hardaway Jr., who's a nice, shooter and scorer at times. But like I said, I don't think in terms of their depth, their bench, they got guys off the bench that can really come in and be a cushion for the starting guys. So I think that's going to be a challenge for them when you're talking about postseason. You know, my expectation personally, I think they can win a series. I think they're definitely capable of winning a series. I think they likely get to the second round. Um, I think they overachieve. I think it's a big achievement if they make it to the Western Conference. That would be major to me because I don't necessarily expect them necessarily to make, but second round to Western Conference, I think would be my expectation for them this season moving forward. It would be a overachievement for sure to make the NBA Finals, but I think that would have to be a matter of Luca and Kyrie just going super off, like we've never seen before, like them just going berserk in the playoffs. And it can happen given the type of caliber kind of guys that they are. Like they could do that. So, but my expectation, me personally, I think second round Western Conference. As a you know, that's their with the time. I think that's where they likely will be at. So yeah, and do I think long term? I do believe likely. Because Kyrie, I think it was a lot of reports on him wanting to go to LA Lakers and get a long contract deal and play with Braun and AD. So I do think I really do think that he'll likely end up this offseason going to LA Lakers, signing with them, and getting that long-term contract deal that he's been wanting. I think personally that's likely what he does, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. He may stay with Dallas, and they build around with what they got with Luka and him. But I do think likely he'll in the offseason go to LA Lakers, and I think that as of for like right now type of thing, like next year, next 2 years, that would be the most. That would be a good window in terms of winning the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like a 1 year, 2 year kind of window. I think if he stays with Dallas, I think he's really thinking long term. I think he's thinking maybe 5 years plus down the line. If he decides to stay in Dallas, that's what I'm thinking. So, but yeah, we'll see how things turn out. We'll see how things play out. MVP rankings. So my personal MVP rankings thus far. Uh, Earlier in the year, I had Jason Tatum as my pick for MVP, and I still think that he's he's been playing great. He's that's still a very good candidate to win. But the season has progressed, and I have some sense bumped him down a little bit. No disrespect, but In terms of rankings, currently I got at number one, no, at number five. I'm going from five. I'm just go from five to one, and it's in order. Right now, at number five in my rankings, I got Ja Morant. He got his team at the second seed. He been playing phenomenal basketball all year. Highlight plays after highlight plays. Been a been a great leader for his team. Uh, you know, and I think he's been great. He's been the engine for their team. Um, obviously the Grizzlies have had a history of somewhat playing well without Ja on the court, but um, he's when he's on the court, they're better for sure. Regardless, they're better, without question. So um, I got Ja right now in terms of my rankings at number five, and at number four I got Giannis. He got the Milwaukee Bucks at number two in the Eastern Conference, averaging 31, 13, and 6. So, you know, putting out, great, crazy numbers as usual. Um, like I said, got the team at the second seed. Been dominating, had most, I think, a couple 50-point games, and just dominating. You know what I mean? So, which I got Giannis at my number four pick for ranking for MVP. Then at number three, I got Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics, averaging about 30 a night. Um, they're number one in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics got his team number one. Um, been a really good leader for them, and been available, and you know just balling. So got him number three currently, and then at number two in my rankings currently, I got Joel Embiid. He's averaging 33 and 11 with the 76ers. Got them at the third seed in the Eastern Conference. He's just been dominating. Like he's had some super games I've seen, some 50 pointers and just killing post in the perimeter. Like he's really in his prime and in his bag. You know what I mean? He's having a historic year in terms of as a big, and then when you look at not just the stats, but when you look at the play, like how he's getting his buckets, how he's getting his points, and all that. I mean, he's doing all. He's assisting, can assist like he's dominating offensively and defensively. Um, you know, with threes from shooting threes, mid range, post. Excuse me. He's been dominating uh, thus far this year. And then at number one, my number one ranking thus far for MVP is Nikola Jokic for Denver Nuggets. He got Denver at number one in the Western Conference. Uh, he really been putting up crazy numbers, man. Averaging triple double. Um, he had just shooting at a super high percentage, super efficient. Uh, not being high on turnovers, making just the right basketball play. In most in most cases, um, he just been dominating. You know what I mean? And he got his team going. I said they're number one in the West. Um, Getting his teammates involved. he's been the anchor for that team. So I got Joker as my top pick for MVP in the running in the race right now. Looking like he's likely to win his third straight MVP, which puts him in a very, very rare category. I think it's about Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, and Larry Bird are the only ones who've done three straight NBA MVP. So he's about to put himself with if he wins in some rare category. Um, so that's really dope. But like I said, the other four guys I mentioned, I believe will have a strong say about that. Obviously with the way they've been playing with Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Ja. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So looking forward to see how this all plays out. The next topic, my top four teams in the Eastern Conference. Um, Personally, obviously with the current, by standings, that records, you have the Celtics at number one at 42-17, the Bucks at the number two at 41-17, the 76ers at 38-19, the Cavaliers at 38-23. That's the standings. And in my personal opinion, I believe in that order, I believe is the top 14. Currently in the East, like I said, in that order. Um, Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, that duo is like, baby Mike and Scotty kind of vibes. Them boys, get after it. Um, Smart, Marcus Smart. I think he's been having some injuries, but he's also a good player. A good player. I think he can be a good asset for that team, and he has been. You got Al Horford. Like they're very deep. The Boston Celtics they got other guys on that team that can really step up to Al Horford, Malcolm Brogdon. Like that's your backup point guard. You know Brogdon started. Like he started with Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Uh, so they got depth on that team, and I like their depth. Uh, you got Milwaukee, obviously with Giannis. Um, you already know Giannis dominated. Chris Middleton, that's the real in terms of health. If he can stay healthy, it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Drew Holiday, you already know, All Star. Um, just a really efficient, um, smooth point guard, tough point guard. Then you got um, Brooke Lopez. Like Milwaukee got a squad on them. And then with 76ers, it's my third team that I think is the best one in the East. Joel Embiid been playing out of this world, 33 and 11. Just been dominating. Uh, James Harden. Now, this is to me like he's been quote unquote disrespected and all that. Like, I definitely think he should have been in the All Star game, and with the numbers he's been putting up, averaging 24 and 11, or 24 and 10 or something. You know, um, I think he's been a major piece as to why Joel Embiid has had such a great year thus far. He's been putting him in position to be successful big time with his assisting. and I think is getting overlooked by a lot of people in terms of James Harden's uh, what he's been doing for the 76ers team. I think it's been definitely overlooked. Um, you got Tobias Harris, who's a good solid forward. Um, can get you to 20 points, possibly on a night. You got Shake Milton, DeAnthony Melton. You got Tyrese Maxey. I like Tyrese Maxey a lot. I like Tyrese Maxey a lot. I like his game. He's real good to me. Um, so the Sixers, man, I like their chances, man. They definitely can come out the East. Um, uh, I really think that they have a good chance this year. And then at number 4 for me, I got Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, for my top to round out my list. Um, Donovan Mitchell. Been playing superb. He's deserves some MVP consideration with his play thus far this year. He's been playing really very very well. Darius Garland. Um, he's been playing very well. He had an All Star caliber. He's having an All Star caliber year. Averaged about 22 and 7. He was somebody I thought was was gonna be an All Star team, but of course he didn't make it this year. But he's gonna be there. I think he's gonna be a perennial guy type of. He's that he's that caliber of a player. So um, he's gonna see more All Stars in the future. Um, Karis LeVert on that team. Evan Mobley, Allen. They got guys, and so they're going to be competitive. Uh, it's going to be interesting to see how they perform in the playoffs because this is a new look team. This is going to be their first year together, and so I'm looking forward to see how they perform in the playoffs. Um, I definitely think they're capable of winning a series. Um, Depending on who they play, um, can they win a second round series? That's gonna really gear on who they play and how things shape out. But I think the first top 3 teams that I have mentioned between the Celtics, Bucks, and the 76ers, those are my main. Between those 3, I think those is who's gonna come out the East. Next time. So my top 4 teams in the Western Conference. So according to the current NBA standings, we have number 1 Nuggets at 41 and 18. Number 2 Memphis Grizzlies at 35 and 22. Number 3 Sacramento Kings at 32 and 25. Number 4 LA Clippers at 33 and 28. That's according to the current standings of the NBA. Um, but I'm going to pick who I think are my top 4 teams, my strongest teams, top 4 teams currently in the league. And at number 4, going from 4 up, um, at number 4, I'm going with the Warriors. I understand that they're currently the 9th seed at 29 and 29. But I just believe in this team, their camaraderie, their championship pedigree. Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond, and those guys, Jordan Poole. I just believe in their ability. They've just, to me, been a team that's kind of battled injuries throughout the year, and it's kind of affected their lineup and stuff like that. Um, when they got it together, they're as good as anybody in the league. So uh, for me, I think still, once they get healthy and get out there, they're 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 fully reckoned with. So they're my number four team. At number three, I got Memphis Grizzlies. Um, I just love their young energy, young core. They remind me a lot of kind of like how OKC was with their energy when they had KD, Russ, and James when they was young guys, and Serge, just young energy guys that are just like playing way better than their age with Ja, Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, Stephen Adams on that team, Brandon Clark. Like they got a deep team. They come at you. They're athletic, um, and so that's that. They're not a team to Josh said they got no worries, and so um, I think they're going to be a team um, that's contending for coming out the West. Man. Um, and my number two team, uh, and again, this is all considering health, of course. The number two team, Denver Nuggets, in the Western Conference. Um, uh, Nikola Jokic, likely MVP of the NBA this year. Uh, Aaron Gordon been playing really well for them. Uh, Jamal Murray, you know, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, uh, Michael Porter Jr. So they got to me a depth on that Denver Nuggets team. They play like a group. It doesn't seem like there's a clash of egos. Obviously, with Jokic, he's their best player. They move by his kind of on his energy. He's he's you know not he's not he's a silent silent guy. Um, doesn't not much of an ego kind of player. So uh, I like what the Denver Nuggets is made up. They're well coached with Mike Malone, and you got those guys disciplined. So um, that's who I got number two, and then at number one, and I got Phoenix Suns, and all things considered in terms of health, you know what I'm saying? If they can stay healthy, I definitely think they're the best team in the West. If you can have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant stay healthy, can get on the court and stay healthy. I mean, these to me, I think you got two of the top five scorers in the league in terms of scoring ability. You got with Devin Booker and KD. That to me is top five scoring. Just at least ability to score the basketball. You got two guys that's in the top five in the entire league, in my opinion. And you got Chris Paul, point guard, proven to take over games, lead teams, all of that. Um, you know what I'm saying? And DeAndre Ayton, who, what I'm saying, he's averaging about 18 and 10 all-star captain. Like, I think, if they can managed to stay healthy, get a level of playing going on. I got them coming out the West. Got them coming out the West. I don't think uh, any team can beat the Suns in the West if healthy. All is healthy. I think they're the best team uh, coming out the West. So that's my top four teams, man. And so definitely gonna be seeing how things play out moving forward. And yeah, next topic. So recommended books to read. Obviously, this is obviously a bit off topic to you know what I've been talking about in this episode. But I thought that it was, you know, it would be good to share. Obviously, at the end, after I got done talking basketball, I just wanted to add this to the episode. So currently, I am reading Stephen A's book, Straight Shooter. I'm about 40 pages in. It's a good book. It's a good read thus far. Um, Stephen A. gets in depth in terms of his personal life, growing up in Hollis, Queens, his family dynamic and things of that, and his basketball career and everything like that. Um, been pretty interesting to learn some of these things about Stephen A. Um, who I believe should be celebrated. Um, he's debatably, in my opinion, the greatest at what he does in terms of his journalism and sport journalism and sport reporting and things of that nature. What he does, I think he's debatably the greatest ever at what he does. Um, and in my opinion, he needs to be acknowledged that Stephen A. has been uh, consistent in terms of showing up for work and always having the facts in terms of info and being the up to date info on the NBA, and he's just always been sharp with sports. And so he's consistent, like I said, in terms of his appearance. You know, Stephen A. is going to be at work. And so I think, when it comes to First Take and appearing at this event and this, that, I see his work ethic, and I think it's something to recognize, especially being, a African American man and a minor. It's not too many people of his background doing what he does, and he should be acknowledged for it. So, um, shout out to Stephen A. Smith. It's a great read. I'm looking forward to finishing the book. Like I said, about 40 pages in, and so yeah. Next, book I finished recently reading, David Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Um, yeah, he's a tough guy, to say the least. I've learned a lot from his book, Can't Hurt Me. Mental toughness and his upbringing, very challenging upbringing, and to see that he overcame what he overcame, It's amazing, and like I said, it's definitely recommend that anybody who has had a rough upbringing, childhood, definitely read "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, because you know if you what he experienced and went through, can definitely be motivation and inspiration for anybody else. So I definitely recommend his book. And yeah, another book that I have read that I think is dope, Russ, the rapper, Get Out of Your Way. It's all in your head. Super dope book. You learn. I learned just obviously his story, his background, how he got into music, and you know what inspired him. And I've been inspired by him. Really learned how to like I said, get out of my own way, believe in myself, manifest what it is I want out of my life, uh, like him. And so I definitely recommend this book out there for people to read. Man, you can learn a lot about how to have hard work, be patient, how to grind, and believe in yourself when nobody else does. You know what I mean? So yeah, get out of here. Then another book that I've read that I recently read that I enjoyed, Flip Your Life by Shabazz, the OG. Um, he's a brother from Philadelphia. I learned a lot about him. Definitely follow him on his Instagram page, Shabazz, the OG. You can get a lot of game from him. I get a lot of game and knowledge and understanding from him. So, um, this book also that he wrote gave me a lot of wisdom, knowledge. I learned about his upbringing. It's pretty tough. He grew up in Philly, what he had to overcome and stuff like that. So, um, you know, definitely recommend that book. Another book, Dapper Dan, Made in Harlem. Uh, Definitely a great book to read. Great read for me. I learned a lot about, the fashion legend, fashion god, Dapper Dan, and his, you know, historic uh, career in fashion, what he's been able to accomplish, what he had to go through, how he got to, where he got, you know, um, the road he went. Um, I'm also a fashion designer, so I'm very interested in the fashion design thing, and I learned a lot about that. His road, his unorthodox road, being African American man trying to um, have a career in fashion, which he did, and he's been a major influence uh, throughout the world. You know what I mean? In fashion, and so you learn his life in Harlem, his upbringing in Harlem, his life. He grew up in Harlem. Traveled the world, went to Africa, traveled, came back. So he had you know went through some adversities growing up, and a lot to learn. You know what I mean, and to take in that I have. And like I said, it's definitely a great read. So, Made in Harlem, Dapper Dan. And then lastly, Principles by Ray Dalio. It's probably like a game changing book for me. I learned a lot from this book. I learned how to have principles in my own life and to live by principles. You know what I mean? Live by principles. And to make my own principles to live by. But I learned, you know, some of the principles that Ray Dalio himself lived by, and the principles he applies in his business, um, and how he's been able to become successful as a, you know, entrepreneur. Um, Definitely some informative info in that book, and yeah, definitely recommend that book, man. And said this podcast for me is all about being informative and educational, and just trying to get people to, you know, be as formed as possible. So, you know, didn't want to, I got um, off topic in terms of said this episode being about basketball, but I did want to add this part in because I just want y'all to, you know, like I said, be informed and educated in as much way possible as y'all can, man. And I can, you know, like I said, I just want to share with y'all. So, yeah, man. Uh, Definitely, you know, thank y'all for being here for the 10th, you know, my 10th episode, man. And uh, any suggestions, um, please, you know, let me know, reach out. You know what I'm saying? I'm open ears. Hope y'all learned some stuff and will apply that to y'all lives. So thank y'all. Until next time.